supposedly a true story, but it's more like folklore kind of thing. So, but it lets us know like where the jack-o'-lantern tradition came from. So yeah. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's black and white in here. I figured that it would add to the spookiness. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, let's get started. Okay, the jack-o'-lantern story. Have you ever wondered why we carve faces into pumpkins as part of our Halloween celebrations? The answer to that question is an interesting tale, and in part, it's a ghost story. The story of a ghost doomed to walk the world's paths and trails forever. Many hundreds of years ago, a man named Jack lived in an Irish village. Jack was not very popular with his neighbors because he was stringy. He would take whatever he could without paying for it, and never offered anything to those in need. As the years went by and Jack got older, he became even more stringy and selfish. The tight-fisted man wouldn't share anything with anyone, but would always take whatever was offered to him. This unpopular fellow also liked to visit the local pub and sip an ice-cold beverage or two. When the other customers saw Stringy Jack coming, they usually scurried for home because he would pester them until they agreed to pay for his drinks. On top of being selfish, Jack was also not very smart, and as a result, one day he invited the devil himself, Satan, to go to the pub with him. Satan accepted the invitation, and the two enjoyed a drink together. As usual, when it came time to pay for the drinks, Stringy Jack looked around for someone to help him out. This time, the place was empty. Everyone else had already gone home. Jack suggested that Satan turn himself into money. "I'll pay for the drinks that way, my friend," the cheapskate explained. Oddly, the devil agreed. Not only was Jack stringy and not very bright, but he was also a liar. As soon as Satan turned himself into money, Jack stuffed the coins into his pocket and sneaked away from the pub without paying. Usually, it's tough to feel sorry for Satan, but the poor devil was stuck in Stringy Jack's deep, dark pockets among chunks of lint the size of his pink toes. It was pretty disgusting. Worse, Satan needed to get doorstep, then on a second, and soon on all the doorsteps in town. Large turnips, much like the one Jack carried, appeared when night fell. Just as Jack had done, the townfolk hollowed out the vegetable, but before placing a burning lump of coal inside, they took one extra step. They carved faces into their turnips, ugly and scary faces that they hoped would frighten away evil spirits, including Jack's. The years went by. Jack's ghostly energy must have weakened because he was no longer seen walking through the Irish towns. Eventually, the villagers stopped putting vegetables with glowing, menacing faces on their doorsteps, except that is, on one very special and very scary night of the year. You see, according to ancient Celtic folklore, summer ends at sundown on October 31st, and winter begins at sunup on November 1st. The hours between sundown and sunup on that day belong to neither summer nor winter. Those hours are not really of this natural world, and during that time there is no barrier between this life and the afterlife, so spirits can roam among the living unless they protected their homes from all of those spirits. Not just Jack of the Lantern Spirit. The people feared they would encounter beings from beyond this world. And so, to be safe from the supernatural, on that one night of every year, they kept to their old tradition. Centuries later, many of the people from the Irish village and others sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to settle in North America. They brought their traditions, including the jack-o'-lanterns, with them. Not long after the newcomers reached the New World, they learned about the many bounties of this chosen homeland, including a wonderful vegetable called a pumpkin. Not only was this pretty orange vegetable tasty and healthy, it made a much more effective jack-o'-lantern than a turnip did. And so, thanks to a ghost who was doomed to wander the world's highways and byways, pumpkins and Halloween are linked together forever. Isn't that a good story? It's not spooky by any means, but I don't know. It says it's a true story. If it's a true story, that is creepy. But anyway, yeah, so I have another story that's a little bit creepier than that, and then I'm gonna read my friend's story, and that one is like really creepy. So also, I think my daughter's writing